Hello and welcome to Breaking Paranormal News. It sure has been a while since I made a video from this series, but a few things emerged recently that I needed to talk about. Today we are covering a range of topics that include space, the hunt for UFOs, and others, including one about myself. Just as a bit of a disclaimer, some of these topics aren't extremely recent, but I have been wanting to talk about them for a while, but my previous work schedule made it impossible. However, with that said, they are all from this year, excluding one. So without further ado, let's get into this. Starting off with our news for this week, we find a topic about aliens, or should I say more correctly, UFOs. A few weeks ago, my wife showed me an article she found entitled, "UFOs are real, but don't assume they are alien spaceships." I will be including a link in the description so you can read it for yourself. Anyway, in this article, it talks about Navy pilots seeing UFOs since 2014 until present. Within these reports, many stated that the objects they followed had hypersonic speed capability, with no noticeable plumes from exhausted fuel being burned. One case even reported that a pilot actually collided with a UFO while out on maneuvers. All of these sightings were reported to the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or AATIP for short. Even the article notes that it is odd how these were reported from 2014 until 2017, but officially the AATIP program was shut down in 2012. Even as such, the Defense Department was unconcerned with these reports being extraterrestrial. It should be noted that the former head of AATIP, Luis Elizondo, was premiering a video called Unidentified Inside America's UFO Investigation. I actually watched that program, not realizing it was even part of this article, and Luis talked to many former and current Navy pilots, and they all confirmed that what they saw wasn't, to the best of their knowledge, from Earth. Not to mention, Luis said he left AATIP because of the information he saw and the cover-ups that were taking place. If you get the chance, I suggest you take the time and watch that program. Anyway, back to the article. With these reports, a senior astronomer named Seth Shostak from SETI offered his opinion on what possibly could be occurring. Seth stated that many of the sightings from pilots dated back to 2004 were seen from off the coast of the United States. In this, he states that what possibly could have been witnessed were rival nations' advanced reconnaissance craft. Seth also states that many of these sightings happened after radar systems had been upgraded, and he noted that anyone running Windows products knows that after updates, bugs are prevalent. Mr. Shostak, remember who is from SETI, goes as far as saying that if aliens are here, they are the best house guests ever. They never do anything but buzz around. They don't adjust climate change, and they don't steal our molybdenum. That is an odd statement to make, but I will get back to it shortly. Finally, Seth applauded the Navy for recently enacting a new classified program for pilots to report unexplained aerial phenomenon, which is a phrase apparently used now for UFOs. He is quoted as saying, "It is a good policy, let them do it." The article finishes with stating that Seth is actively kept up at night, looking for the possibility that life exists outside of our solar system. Okay, with all that out of the way, you may notice that I talk about this in a way that is dripping with sarcasm. First thing first, my thought is, when did SETI become a sellout organization? SETI was started with the main purpose of hunting for extraterrestrial life. Even the name, SETI, stands for Search for Extraterrestrial Life. Yet we have Seth basically saying aliens can't be responsible for any of these trained pilot sightings. After looking into Mr. Shostak, I see he is who he claims to be, but also is a host of a podcast called Skeptic Check, where his show is primarily focused on debunking many things, including UFO sightings. Mind you, not to prove or disprove sightings, but to outright state they are false. I am all for debunking things that need it, but this development seems a little odd. It also is a little odd that Seth is the main proponent in this article that involves highly trained Navy pilots who are well versed in what should and shouldn't be in the air, and not someone who has more of a military, if not aeronautical background. Seth stated that what pilots saw was reconnaissance craft. Okay, Since the pilot stated that these objects moved at hypersonic speed, are we to assume the government is admitting to having that technology? Also, why wouldn't the Defense Department be a little more concerned about this if it's a rival nation's reconnaissance craft? Going further, he states that it could be a bug in the system. I can certainly see the military sending pilots up in the air with an untested radar system. You know, because that couldn't end in disastrous results. I highly doubt they run Windows, just so it is said. Outside of all this, a pilot reported hitting one of the craft he saw. Not sure a bug could cause that. Let's not mention that Seth applauds the military for setting up a program to report these sightings, but they will be classified. Wait, I thought Seth basically said there aren't any alien UFOs flying about. Then why does he think a program is a good thing to have? The last thing I want to mention is that he states aliens must be the best house guests since they don't do anything, which he includes stealing our molybdenum. Maybe it is a science joke, but I was unaware of this object and had to look it up. Molybdenum is a silver-white metal that is highly resistant to corrosion and is one of a few pure elements that has the highest melting point. This is also a micronutrient that is required for life. Maybe I'm just out there, or it is too late at night, but that is an oddly specific item to mention randomly. I will just leave that there, but I can't help but think how many UFOs are described as being silvery white and would require a metal that would withstand extreme temperatures. I'm just saying. To me, this whole article was disappointing with how dismissive an organization that was set up to look for UFOs can be when it comes to credible UFO sightings. Keeping in the realm of outer space things, I wanted to mention that recently NASA has reported that a huge object has been discovered under a crater on the far side of the moon. This was discovered by the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter when this massive object appeared in topographic maps sent back. The blob, as some are calling it, has a mass 5 times that of the islands of Hawaii and is said to be buried 5 miles deep. Many geologists and scientists alike assume that it is a dense mineral deposit, which some claim is from when the moon was formed. Apparently within this, the US plans to visit the moon again in 2024, but when asked about investigating the area or mining it, the idea was quickly brushed off as it being too deep. Now you probably knew I was going to go there, but many people have theorized that a base could be present on the moon. With the surface temperatures fluctuating between negative 280 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 173 degrees Celsius, and can go to a high of 280 degrees Fahrenheit or 127 degrees Celsius, depending on where the sun is hitting, it wouldn't be unreasonable to assume that if someone or something was inhabiting the moon, that a structure underground would be needed. Let us not forget that many strange unexplained objects have been found on the surface. Also, keep in mind the statement made by Neil Armstrong when he switched communications to another channel, where he said, "They are here, they're parked on the side of the crater, they're watching us." Many of the strange objects, including this one, are found in craters. I never was a big theorist on moon beings, but I must admit all of this is interesting. With that said, I would like to bring up a picture from a few years ago that ties with this and is simply known as the Man on the Moon. In this image, it certainly seems to show what looks like a giant humanoid being walking on the surface with shadow and everything. This photo wasn't doctored and at one time could be found on Google Maps. I haven't looked for myself, so I can't say if it is still viewable or not. I will include the coordinates for those of you who wish to find out. Anyway, this image could have a few reasonable explanations, such as the pesky pareidolia effect, but NASA's response made me question that. The official explanation is that what this image shows is a particle of debris on the camera lens. Okay. I'll leave that one to you. Now moving on to a topic that is a bit more personal related, but it blew my mind after looking into it. After all these years of posting videos about the legends and facts of cryptids, I have gained quite a bit of knowledge about the hidden world. Within this, many times I've been asked by various people, including you, my viewers, if I consider myself a cryptozoologist. Naturally, this would be a reasonable question due to the primary content on my channel. However, each time I am asked, I would say no. I always viewed myself as simply someone who compiled all the viable information out there, about a given topic and presented it to you in the best way possible. Sort of like a storyteller, but without the part of making up information. Recently I was talking to a friend of mine on Twitter where he was asking for someone to help him who was a cryptozoologist. I replied that I could help, but I didn't consider myself part of that field. I won't get into the whole story, but it started me thinking, am I a cryptozoologist? So I looked into what it took to become one. Granted, there isn't any official program out there, but 3 requirements are generally needed. First, you need a degree that focuses on the animal kingdom. I have a wildlife degree in science from Penn State University. Second, you need to research hidden animals. I have done that immensely through the years when presenting cryptid topics. Third, you need to publish your findings. Again, I do this as well with each of my cryptid videos. So come to find out, I fit all 3 requirements, and it blew my mind to find out that apparently I am in fact a cryptozoologist. Now, this doesn't change anything, but it was an interesting bit of information to find out about, and I thought you may like to know it as well. I wanted to step into a realm that I rarely talk about with this channel, but I'm still excited to mention it to you. As a few of you are aware, I do enjoy playing video games when I have a spare moment to do so. This is what I would consider minor news, but still, it is what it is. The game called Fallout 76 is based in West Virginia, and with it was a landmark inclusion of the most cryptids in a video game that I am aware of. They already had their versions of Wendigo, the Flatwoods Monster, the Grafton Monster, the Snallygaster, and the Mothman, complete with Mothman Museum and statue. Well, in a recent update, they silently included the lesser-known Sheep Squatch as well. Now granted, this game did receive a lot of heat from players and critics alike, but I did enjoy playing it, especially since naturally, I spent a lot of time just going around trying to locate all the game's cryptids. Personally, the Mothman part, and also exploring the TNT bunkers out in the woods, was a great time. I also would be remiss if I didn't mention the game called The Sinking City, where it revolves a lot around Cthulhu, and it also is out now, and it looks pretty interesting. Again, I know this isn't normally in my wheelhouse for things I talk about on this channel, but it is semi-cryptid related, so I at least wanted to mention it. After going through all these stories, I am uncertain if it fits with Breaking Paranormal news, but yet again, why not? These incidents can't be explained, they are strange, and they happened recently. So, I guess it does fit? Anyway, I am curious to hear about your thoughts on these stories, and would love to hear about anything I may have missed in the world of paranormal news. If you haven't yet done so, please consider subscribing to my channel for similar content to this, and I would also appreciate it if you could share my videos with someone you know who might enjoy this type of genre. With that, be safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Later!